So we will start with the swearing in of Carl. Welcome.
Welcome.
So Sophia would normally do this, but since she's out of state, then I will be doing the swearing in. And
She's coming on now.
Okay.
Yeah, she's here, but she's not in Illinois, and in order to do this, she has to be in the state. So our council advised that someone be designated the secretary for the purposes of the swearing in, and that would be Samantha. So they both have to state where they are, and you've got the instructions, right, Samantha?
Yeah, it's just like kind of complicated because I've got my laptop and I've got the window open. So.
And on my phone at the same time. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so then, so I will be swearing him in. So I will ask Carl, I'll ask you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. And then it says you will both state that you are in Illinois. So you are in Illinois?
I am in Illinois.
I am in Illinois. And so, I'm sorry.
I am.
Okay, so I do it now then. Okay, so repeat after me. I do solemnly swear.
I do solemnly swear
That I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois.
and that I will faithfully discharge
I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of the Decatur Public Library
the duties of the office of the Decatur Public Library
trustee
trustee
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Okay, so you're in Illinois, and then you will state that you're signing the oath of office form.
I am stating oath of office form. It is here. My signature is such.
All right, and then you'll scan and send to me.
Yes.
Okay, and then I will sign and scan, and then we will file with the county clerks. So that makes it official, sounds like. So welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so we are doing remote attendance pursuant to the State Executive Orders 2020. The full text is in the agenda, but it does not require the board to meet physically. So we will start with the consent agenda. So are there any changes or any issues with the agenda or minutes that anybody had?
Not on the agenda, but I am not either present or absent in the last meeting in August.
All right.
Minutes.
I show you present, Mike.
Oh, you do? Okay, I'm sorry. I must have looked at it wrong. I thought.
Yeah, I show you present.
Yes, I do show you present on here.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry
Just
about that.
perfect. Okay. Were there any changes to the agenda, Rick, that you had? I think we were good.
Oh, changes to the agenda. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean like changes to the agenda or minutes. Yeah, Michael.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right, then I will request a motion for the approval for the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? We'll do roll call. So Amy?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Sophia?
Yes.
I think that's everybody that's here so right now. Oh, and Samantha. And Carl.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Carl, all right, so I've got you. Okay, the agenda is approved. And then we will move on to Lakeisha. we're working on a patron ban appeal. So we'll request that you, let us know kind of what's going on, the reason, and then we'll probably give you about 3 minutes to talk here.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, man, I just want to start out. That is so cool, Carl. That guy, Carl, that just got inducted. Like, I forget, like, we made phone calls, down there at downtown. And I don't know if he remembers me and my mom coming in. And he was there and working with, man, I suck. I can't remember anybody's freaking name, man. But I think that's great for him, it's kind of cool to see something like that. I mean, I might be a convicted, hey, Carl, you remember me?
I do.
Hey.
I can't see it,
Yeah.
but I remember you. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I talked about it. I worked on Obama campaign and all that. But anyway, let's talk. I don't want to take about you guys' time, But, like, I was homeless, and Shelby let me microwave my fucking cheeseburgers. And then this fucking black guy comes out here. I mean, he was assistant director. I wasn't doing anything, man. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't doing anything. And I was like, I'm going to protest. I'm going to protest the fact that I think, that young people, go in the break room. It's an excellent place. Nobody's in there. I was just in there by myself. I have my water and junk, I'm back. I mean, everybody can take a chill pill. I'm back with my parents now. But, I might end up, going to jail maybe because, like, I protested again about, some criminal trespass, man. Over there at the Hampton Inn. I'm like, I want my money. You're overcharging me. I do things. It's real. I do. And I mean, I know it'd be right to ask for forgiveness, but should I or should I not, Rick? I mean, Rick, I've been talking to Rick. Rick's been helping me. That's who I've been talking to. But yeah, Carl, it's great.
So can I ask, why do you want to come back to the library? I mean, what is helpful for you? I mean,
before I didn't have internet, I'm like, I like to read. Like, I like to have my own library someday. I like to help young people out there like that. I think it's sad that, yeah, it's COVID and everything, but you got all these kids running around not doing nothing. And it's a great place, like that kids floor with all the books and everything. And like, we got all these fucking adults around here just sitting around here not doing shit.
hey,
and no kids.
So we'll have to ask you to not use language like that. Keep it professional. So what other questions do we have from the board?
Well, you were bringing up kids. Do you have children? Is that what you were thinking, that you wanted to bring your children to the library?
No, I grew up in the YES program, Youth Engagement Strategy with David Kidd, with Kellogg. And, I did things like this, with Youth Advocate, with Main Street Church, with, we worked in the community with churches and non-for-profit organizations. That's what we did. This thing, it's on Zoom and all that, but we were told to like meet with people like you guys, talk to people like you guys. Rick gave me the days and stuff. This guy's personal trustee meeting, and I wouldn't mind just being a person that sits in on like a fly. It actually be somebody in the community, because I've taken the bus, I've walked the streets, I've done things. I was taken care of very well. My mom and dad are Thomas Earl Byers and Georgina Byers. They're still married. I'm just some lazy sucker living in one of their houses right now, but who cares?
Do you have any remorse for the way that you maybe treated Robert or the way that you handled the situation?
This is gonna hurt, but not really, because I don't like the way he approached me. I don't like the way he did it. You know, I mean, I think he was kind of rude to Shelby, to be honest. I mean, she was coming up to him being real nice, and he was being rude. So I stepped in on that. You know, I mean, that's how I feel. I yelled out on the way while the police were taking me out, fire Robert Edwards. I mean, that's what I did. So there that is. I'm sure that doesn't help.
Well, it's honest.
Yeah. Any other questions? No. Susan?
I guess I would just want to know if we could be assured that, you know, you wouldn't have this kind of behavior again when you come into the library.
Here it is. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can now. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I'm better off now. Like I said before, I was homeless. I was protesting. As long as my parents don't kick me out of their fucking house, I mean, I'm sorry about that. Sorry, cursed again. Gotta watch the language. But long as that doesn't happen, you know, I won't go back in the break room looking to microwave some cheeseburgers. You know?
Well, there's something to be said for permission, and you might get the microwave cheeseburgers.
That's why Shelby let me. And that's what I'm concerned about. I mean, she's a young person. She probably has the same feelings as I do. But I was like, man, like this is like my problem. I don't want to get her freaking fired or anything for letting me go in the break room to microwave some cheeseburgers. Like, for
If I
real,
could,
I'm serious.
if I could, and I talked to Lakeisha about this a couple of times. It wasn't about going to the break room. That was a misunderstanding. That was nothing about that. It was the response afterwards. It was
Right.
the being loud in the children's department, using racial slurs and bad language, and not leaving when she was asked to leave. It wasn't the fact that the first part was a misunderstanding, and that was nobody's fault, including Lakeisha's.
Got it.
Okay.
All right.
Carl?
I'll say, yeah, as a reader, I liked Miss Avery's question, just as long as you can give some degree of assurance that we won't have any form of outburst anymore. Obviously, that library is a valuable asset. Don't want to take away from anyone. As a young person myself, love to read, love the asset it provides, because, you know, not everyone has the ability to purchase books themselves. So the library is a very valuable asset. So I never want to take that away from anyone, especially this being my first meeting and my first agenda item to be handling there. So as long as you give me some form of insurance that we can just, you know, not handle that anymore. If there's any issues, to make sure that we can handle it amicably in that manner, that's what I would ask.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay, so we will vote on this. So that is how, and we'll vote on it now.
I think in the past, this has only happened a couple of other times.
I know, and I don't remember.
Times, you know, the motion is that, well, it's not really a motion. There's been an appeal by the patron, by a member of the public asking for something to be overturned. And the board just did a simple up or down vote on it after they were satisfied with the discussion.
Okay. So is there any discussion between the board?
Is this the first time we've had an incident with Lakeisha?
To my knowledge.
Okay. Michael?
I'm always for giving somebody a second chance. I don't like the racial stuff. I don't like foul mouth screaming and yelling in the library.
Well, I don't like verbal attacks on library staff either.
I don't like it. And Robert, I'd be interested if you want to say anything, or maybe not. I don't know.
I agree with the assessment that, you know, whatever assessment the board makes as far as, because to me it comes down to policy, whatever policy we decide to follow. It'll be the policy, you know, probably going forth. We'll look back as a precedent. I do think a lot of weight should be given on the fact that what Carl and Susan said about, you know, making sure, how do you ensure things don't happen again? But, you know, my thing about it is that and I did mention this to Rick, is that I am glad it was me, because I would feel probably a lot different and not as calm if it was other staff. We've had people wander into the break room before. That's not an issue. I mean, a lot, maintenance people were visiting, they wander into the break room. But that's my concern too, is if Rick's not here, I'm not here, we don't have security, and we have staff in the evening. I want to make sure this doesn't happen to staff or even another patron. You know, so I want to also add that it wasn't just us that had issues. It was the police when they came in. They had issues also. They had some issues where they called, you know, trying to calm down, and even outside. So I'm willing, you know, I'm content with whatever policy or whatever the board decides that hey, this is the way we want to go.
I'm sensing that what we need is a policy, you know, so I'm suggesting that we table this, and maybe the personnel, you know, committee, you know, speaks to it or something like that. It's obvious, I guess we don't have a policy about this type of thing. Is that correct, Rick?
We don't, and Susan,
Okay.
I have been, actually just before this incident, I started looking at, there are some pretty good models out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's always been, I always joke with Robert, I'm supposed to decide with the wisdom of Solomon how long to, you know, okay, you can't come back for a week, and but there are some, there's some problems with coming up with a policy, because you can't anticipate every situation, but there are some pretty good models out there, and I'd be happy to bring some before the committee.
And that's the whole thing, is we've had this before, and each situation is different.
Right. Carl, did you have something? Your hand is up.
Oh, sorry.
No, yeah, I was just gonna ask. So you said we don't necessarily have situations like this too often, where we, I guess, ban patrons. So do we normally overturn them after, you know, it's the first incident we've had, so to speak? So.
Well, this is the third time in my 6 years that someone has actually appealed to the board. Everyone has a right to do so, but there's probably something like 25 or 30 people that have been banned for various lengths of time. But Lakeisha is just the third person to actually go through the appeal process. So the other two, the appeals were overturned, to my recollection.
Yeah, we had Lewis Lattimore, I think, was a year ago or a year and a half ago.
Yeah, Israel. Mm-hmm.
Oh, Israel, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and then there was a gentleman who came in. He had it was attempted theft, and you know, he came back and said that he was in a tough situation. He admitted to everything he did, and apologized, and you guys gave him another chance. And to my knowledge, we haven't had any issues with him.
And I'm trying not to be judgmental here, but when I ask her if you have any remorse about that, and there's no remorse about it, then what stops it happening again? If you feel that you're being mistreated, instead of handling it in a nicer way, or a more formal way, do you just rant and rave and scream?
I think for me as well, I'm not sure that she answered any of our questions. And I also am a little concerned that she was still kind of hostile towards Robert during the questioning. And I personally think Robert does a lot for our library and is a very valuable employee. And I feel like this all has to be a case-by-case basis, but I'm not sure any questions were answered.
A question, and I'm sorry I was, a little bit late, got tied up with work things. Was the version of the event that was sent out to us, Rick, I assume that that's accurate? And second question, did this woman have a different version of the event?
Not significantly, I don't think, except, I mean, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but it sounded like she just felt like that she had reason to be upset. She said there were some extenuating circumstances, and she felt that she was mistreated, but I don't think I mean, she can say otherwise. She's still here in the room. She can say otherwise, but I don't think she was disputing any of the facts of the event.
Okay, thank you.
I'll offer a motion building on what Susan said, that we thank her for coming to present her case, and that given that this has raised the issue of that we don't have a current policy, and understanding that every case is unique, but Rick is telling us that there are models, that this matter that her particular appeal be tabled for the moment, and we refer to the personnel committee to come up with a general model framework.
Okay. Can I have a second?
Second.
All right. We'll do roll call. Amy,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Sophia,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Carl,
Aye, yes.
Samantha, yes. So this matter will be tabled until our next PPPR committee meeting, which is the first Thursday, so it'll be the 1st of October, it looks like. That sounds right. Okay. Well, Lakeisha, you can stay if you would like. Like, this is an open meeting, so if you want to stay, you're welcome to, and listen in. So we will, we do not have any public comments at the moment, as far as we know. You're on mute.
I'm sorry. None were emailed to me per the process.
Carl, did you have something?
Will Lakeisha be able to plead her case one more time, I guess, before the PPR committee, or is that her final testimony?
She left.
Just left. I saw that. I just didn't know if there was the opportunity presented to her at the actual committee meeting of the PPR.
I think that's a matter of policy, because some of the policies I've looked at have said, okay, you can appeal every so often. One of the things I want to point out that I didn't do, that sometimes we do, is I didn't put any. We've had a pretty much a zero tolerance policy on use of racially charged language. And I didn't give her the lifetime ban that I usually hand out. And that's because, from what I'm reading, that it's probably not good practice. 1 year it'd be the max, and then we can extend it a year if we wish. But some of the policy models that I've looked at put a limit on how frequently you can appeal the same ban.
Okay. No, I think that's good. Are there any written communications from the public?
I have none.
Okay.
Hey, Rick. Just another comment. Certainly the city of Decatur. This is certainly not an uncommon thing to occur in the city offices. It doesn't happen frequently, but it's not infrequent. And certainly there are many times where a customer coming to the civic center, to the city offices, has gotten upset about something and, may behaved, and from what I read in the report, in a not dissimilar manner. There have been many times where, just like the library did, city staff called the police. There have been times in the past when the police have actually charged the individual something, breaking of the peace or something like that. It's not been uncommon for the person to be banned from City Hall for some period of time. All that's done, kind of on a case-by-case basis. So, maybe something to take into consideration as we're evaluating some sort of policy.
Okay. Greg, we can only see like half your face, just so you know. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
I'll have to not slouch down.
Amy, you're on mute.
Just tilt your screen, Greg.
Huh?
Tilt your screen down.
Okay.
Maybe he only wants us to see like.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to Rick's report, the city librarian's report.
Okay, we're going to have division head reports too. So again, relatively brief, and I think everybody's here except for Alyssa, who is taking some time off. Let's see. So we had some good television coverage in the month of August. On the 20th, we were interviewed by WAND for a spot that I think showed up like a week later. And this was all about the social work internship. Also, CI Living did the same on the 28th, and that was, I think that was shown in early September. That was like a 4 or 5 minute spot. So that was, for television news, that's really in depth, so that was kind of cool. Let's see what I want to highlight. Someone, let me talk about the stats, because it's just, everything's weird this year. So, if you look and, so we're looking at a 23% drop from last August. Now, we're closed Saturdays. Last August, we were open Saturdays. Plus, foot traffic's down by about 56%. So people are still staying home. So I'm not sure what our numbers tell us, but what I did find kind of interesting, normally I don't like comparing August to July to June, because there are predictable seasonal variations in library usage. This year, they're not predictable at all. So I did go back and look at, how did August compare to previous months this year? So it beat July. And that never happens, just so you know, and we're open the same amount of hours. August never has better numbers than July. It beat June. It beat May and April. Well, that's pretty obvious. We were closed. And it's really close to March, about 160 items off. And March was the month we closed, so we were open approximately half of March. And then compared to February, it's about a 21% decline. So, and it looks like the foot traffic is beginning to slowly climb up. So I think there's reason to not despair, and we're still reaching a lot of people with online programs, although it's not as clear as it was when I talked to you last month, because now it's, as we get into the details of how we're counting electronic attendance at programs, it's weird. If it's, we have to count one way if it's Facebook, we have to count another way if it's YouTube, and so whether it's live or recorded. So we're looking at that again. So it may not be as, the reach may not be as eye-popping as we at first thought, but it's still pretty good. I mean, the program numbers are, considering the fact that we haven't had an on-site program to speak of, are pretty good. Now, I want to catch up to speed on a couple of things that happened this month. And normally I only talk about the previous month, but we had Governor Pritzker visited on, was it Wednesday of last week? We got a call from his representatives Tuesday morning and asked if that would be okay. He came and he had a presser on the census. This was not a public event. This was a press conference. We found out, because they asked us on Tuesday, and we spent, you know, most of Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday morning preparing for it. He was here along with Senator Menard, who Carl works for, and oh my gosh, I'm having a senior moment here. Representative Calkins, yeah, Calkins was also here, and Ngozi Onura, our former trustee, she spoke. Who else spoke, Carl?
It was somebody. There was somebody from the state, and then Julie Wolfmore.
Yes. Yeah. So, you know, it was a kind of a whirlwind thing. We got short notice. We followed all the instructions. We had the press conference. You know, we whirled the governor in. We whirled the governor out. But it was fun, and it was nice that they thought of us. And I thought it went pretty smoothly. So that was cool. And gosh, what was the other thing? There's something else this month. And we decided today in division heads, and that is, you know, I'm still going on a decision you guys made in March to let me make these decisions. I hope it's still okay. But as of October 17, we will reinstate Saturdays, regular Saturday hours, so 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. So we had to give 30 days. The union contract makes us, you know, we can't change their schedules unless it's 30 days in advance. So October 17 will be the day.
Okay, cool. All right, so that takes us to division head reports. So Robert, you're up.
Hello again. The last month we had a retirement, so, well, a month before actually, I think. So the administration department, we spent a lot of time auditing our processes and procedures and mapping out some of the processes. Betty Jo and Shelby Kramer, who's a temp, we were reviewing the order and the invoicing structure that we've had. And it's, you know, it's also been an opportunity to just make some things a little bit easier, I guess, to do, and to shorten some of the steps that we've had in the past, you know. And we have to look at it as fresh eyes because we don't have the experience as the previous person had, Joanne had, you know, doing it. So it's been a nice learning experience for us. The library system is intertwined with the city ordering system. So we've had a lot of support from especially Diane over there, and Penny and Debbie working with us with the ordering, and Diane with the payroll. You know, we managed to get the payroll out two times. So that's a big goal for us. We're happy about that. And staff, I think they're happy about that too. We also reviewed the financial transactions that were modified to include the credit debit transactions downstairs in circulation department. So we did that for the purpose of record keeping. Before we weren't actually recording the credit debit transactions, and now we're doing that. The city does get the official, the check over there, but we still record it. Now we record all those. In circulation, the amount of patrons, of course, decreased about 50% from last year, the amount of patrons actually checking out materials, not the ones coming in the building. So we had 1,654 patrons that actually checked out materials that came into the building. Now our foot count, our traffic count is a lot more than that. But these are ones that checked out the amount of books, and our total checkout was about 17,000 last year, about 27% down, excuse me, this year, about 27% down from last year. And the actual amount checked out by our patrons who came in this year was about 15,000. So we still have people coming in, checking out materials in the library. We attended some share meetings, our system meetings. We talked about the auto renewals. We also talked about delivery, and we changed some delivery. They changed delivery times. So everything went up to 7 days from 5 days. So they were able to help us with that, the whole system with that. We had 2 of our staff that passed the circulation clerk exam and the interviews, and Shakira Powell was the one that was promoted to the only available position that we have at this time. Robert Davis is on the list if we have another opening coming up.
Awesome. All right. So we will, if nobody has questions, we'll move on to Becky.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so I was going to tell you guys that the oral histories are done and available on, and they mostly are, except for 2 that I just found in our system that I have to add. So, and one is, that's for Burlstone and Marie Cumberford, Marianne Cumberford. So those 2 will be added in the next few weeks. Otherwise, there are over, I believe, 100 on there right now. So enjoy. A lot of them. I know Amy is really excited about it. The next big project for Omeka on my end is probably going to be either the Wasson photographs, which are 7 or 5x7 glass negatives that were scanned a while back. Is a labor of love Matt knows all about because he helped me with that. They're going to go on there, or we're going to do these new photos we got of the Decatur Dam construction that go all the way through the entire construction, and the bridge at 51 being raised. So people are going to love that. We're still doing board minutes. We are up to 2009. We will be done by the end of the year, at least up to the most current. And then we'll add on every year as well. The other thing that is I'm currently reorganizing all of those board minutes and taking them out of the institutional records and making them a separate institutional record because they're so big. We actually, turns out we use them. As we're going through and adding these on, sometimes we have to go back and recheck the scan because the scan wasn't good, so it has to be rescanned again. So we've been digging through large boxes, and that's what they're really doing. So especially for my volunteers who are not all in the best of shape. So we're changing all of that over to our gray file boxes instead of our white paper boxes. And then, of course, all the volunteers are back on birth records. This will be done by the end of the year as well. And then Peggy, dear Peggy, who's been with us for 20 years, at home does actually collect all the birth records from the newspaper. And so she'll bring us the next round at the end of 2020.
Cool.
I just had a question. I'm pretty excited about your glass negatives.
Thank you. Yeah.
If you
There's
need
about 1,500 of them.
Because I used to be a photographer and I actually used to shoot in 5x7.
Mm-hmm.
Not glass, but if you need any help with that too, I can help too.
If you want to help me add them to Omeka, you're more than welcome to. Yeah.
They're probably pretty cool.
Yeah, they've all been scanned. They were all scanned at 2400 DPI. I'm probably going to have them taken down just a little bit in DPI because I don't know if Omeka will allow us to put that large of a file on there. But we scan them so large, such a high resolution because they're not in the best of shape. Unfortunately, when they were stored originally, they were stored with cellulose negatives or cellulose nitrate negatives, and the nitrate, they were right next to each other. And the nitrate started eating the glass negatives, the emulsion off the glass negatives. So that all has been changed. Those cellulose nitrate negatives are actually gone because they are a huge fire hazard. So they were taken out, they were scanned, and they have been taken out of the library by Veolia in hazmat suits. That was
Nice.
But yeah, if you ever want to help out or you want to see them, let me know.
would
We do
love
have them
to.
on site, and I'm happy to show them to you.
Becky, are you in need of volunteers?
Not totally at the moment, no, because even though the library is back to regular hours and we'll be starting Saturdays, the local history room is still sitting at 10 to 2, and we are having conversations as to whether or not we will go ahead and start Saturdays as well. It's a discussion between Rick and I, and of course Leanne and I, as to whether and how we're going to do this. Because not everybody's ready to come back yet. And our hours seem to be, 10 to 2 seems to be working out really well for us. And Saturdays were always kind of nobody's really going to come in kind of a thing. Sometimes you get a huge amount and then the rest of the month, no one would be there. So we have to figure out how we're going to do this. So right now, no, I'm on hold for new volunteers at the moment.
All right, so who is giving Alyssa's report? Or do we need to do that?
I mean, it's part of my report to you guys. I can review it if you like, but
It's just like mainly the programming, so. Okay. So, Matt, you're up.
So, the best news is today I finally returned the Comcast modem, so we're no longer associated with them. The ICN's been up for about a month and a half now, and it's not gone down once. It's a nice, fast, reliable connection. We've also purchased 10 laptops to configure for staff to use either in the library or at home. So we're busy with that. We recently replaced, well, a year or so ago, we replaced our patron computers, and Rick offered those to the staff. The staff has reserved about 7 of those. We're just putting a Linux operating system on them for them. And Chris and I are starting to redesign our intranet for a faster server, and hopefully it'll get more use and have more content on it for staff. And that's the lowdown.
All right. Questions for Matt? Okay, Carol, you're up.
Thank you, Matt.
Well, tech services is, of course, acquisitions, cataloging, processing, and we are pretty much back to as normal as you can be in this environment. The only things that hold us back right now is our main book supplier is Baker and Taylor. Their shipping has gotten a little backed up, so it's a little choppy as far as when we get materials, but the upside of that is we have time to get other projects done. Won't bore you with exciting new cases and tape, but it has allowed us to do some cleanup work. So we're pretty much back to normal and enjoying being back together. I kind of want to give a shout out though. 2 of my employees, 2 of my staff are students taking college classes, and they also have students in school doing various online and at home and in school. And their productivity has been amazing. And I just kind of want to, that's Karen and Siobhan. I just kind of wanted to mention that because, that's a lot to take on, and it has not diminished their work here at all. Very productive. So kudos to them. That's it.
Well, thank you guys for your reports.
Thank you.
Rick, do you want to let them leave? I don't know if you have to tell them to leave. You're on mute.
you guys are welcome to stay, but you're also welcome to.
I think they're all gone now. Or there's Carol. All right, so we've got our community report. So PPPR did not meet. So we'll move on to finance properties.
We did meet and we had a discussion of the check register. It was all normal expenses, and certainly reflected the work that Carol and her department's doing in terms of materials acquisition. We're pretty good versus where we want to be at this point in the year. So the Finance Committee recommends to the board that the August 2020 check register be approved. Thank you, Rick. And there were some subscriptions and software, and we had a discussion of those items. As you can see, Baker and Taylor was obviously a lot of the activity this month. So there were no caveats or to the recommendation for board approval.
Okay. Did you make a motion? I'm sorry.
Yes. So
okay.
So move.
I will take a second.
I second.
All right. All in favor. So we'll do Amy.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Michael.
Michael.
You have to say it.
You have to say it.
Unmute.
Yes, yes.
Sophia.
Yes.
Greg.
Yes.
Carl.
Yes.
And Samantha, yes.
And then we also reviewed, as normal, we reviewed the reports, the two reports that Rick presents. One is current operations versus this year's budget, and then his projection. So that then is through August, through the end of August. And then the second report, which is his projection based on the current history for the rest of the year. And both of those reports point toward revenue being slightly less than budget, but expenses also being less than budget, particularly because of staffing, just the timing of the retirement and the replacement and so forth. So we were currently, the budget has us basically at a zero, revenue equals expense. It looks like, based on Rick's most recent projection, all things considered, that there's going to be a tiny surplus at the end of the year. I would call that within, given how many uncertainties there are, that that's in the margin of error there. So we have a little bit of wiggle room this year. There are some timing issues on the receipt of property taxes, which we discussed. So this is usually a discussion item and not an approval item. So we discussed it.
Okay.
And then the other topic was we looked at Rick's first version of the budget for next year, because this, of course, is the time that both the city and the library are going through the budget process. We had a number of questions. Obviously, there are a number of uncertainties that Rick is working to answer. So we saw that as a draft. That will be our main topic at the October meeting. And then hopefully we'll have something for you at the next board meeting. So, and that's all within the schedule as we understand it from the city.
Okay. Any questions? All right, we will move on to, there was no meeting of the foundation. Rick attended the Friends meeting. Small update on that.
Yeah, there was an ask for Katie Etchison as a program that it's going to be like a remote Halloween makeup how-to, a series of Zoom programs about that with some people with some. She has a theater background, so she has some people with some professional background, and I think it was it's going to be 4 events. So she asked for $100 honorarium for each of the presenters, and that was approved by the Friends. They decided to continue to cancel Books Between Bites and Second Saturday book sale for the time being.
All right. The IHLS Share Executive Council.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten my report on that yet. I'm sorry, I'm not on the council anymore, and it's my fault. I forgot to ask her. Carol is now the large library representative. The only large library in IHLS is us, so we always have somebody who sits on that council, and Carol is now that person, and that's my fault. I forgot to ask her about what happened at the last meeting.
Okay. So we'll move on to old business. So we'll go to Robert. So diversity, equity, inclusion. Should we change this to EDI? Like, because we were talking about it this morning.
Yeah, yes, we were talking about this morning. We had a good meeting this morning with Karen, and some of this is just repeat information for some of you guys who have been sort of emailing, and letting you know what's going on. So I'll give you just a summary. Last time we talked about meeting with, that I was going to meet with Bruce Nims, and I think we've met at least one committee meeting since then, but he had some really good suggestions about policy. And he emailed me a couple of people who are interested, Gloria, I can't think of her last name now, and Benny Smith, who Benny came in and he had a tour of the library. He's very interested. And also Brenda Major, I spoke with her. She was at Milliken at one time, and she's now doing a lot of volunteer work. They're all interested. And we also contacted Caterpillar and ADM. Well, Caterpillar did get back with us. One of their HR people got back, and she's going to contact corporate and see what they can share as, about their policies, their diversity policies. And so we can kind of get an idea as we sit down and sort of see what we would like for our diversity policies to maybe model. Tina Zeno-McWilliams, she referred to me, Gabriella Brunner, their completion and career coach. And they said they would be glad to work with the library. We were at that time looking at maybe a temp position in the library to sort of get someone engaged, some of the students engaged with library work who normally don't choose this field. So that's still, we haven't gotten back with Gabriella yet. Karen Lyons and Lorena Neal from the Evanston Public Library, they contacted us. They got back with us, and this has been a really good discussion that has come out of our talks, our meetings. Karen first called me and she said she'd be willing to talk with our diversity group. And sure enough, this morning, she was 10 o'clock this morning, we had a meeting with Karen and had some questions. Now, Evanston Public Library, they have a really nice document that that came out of their process. And it was, they found that their first racial equity task force, and this includes like 8 community members, 4 staff members, and 2 board members. So they also recently won a grant from Rails, Reaching Across the America Library System, with the project they're working on. It's a community engagement project where they go out and video engagement in the community. So Karen had some really good ideas about how to get started this morning. She talked with us, glad for Samantha and Carl to actually be there, attend. And we talked about how we would start bringing in a consultant, and some of the problems that they encountered starting out and how to go forward. So right now we're looking to have another meeting, and at our next meeting, I think we'll start looking at our consultant, who we'll get for a consultant. I did contact Dieta Jones, who worked with those guys. I helped them get their process completed, and haven't heard back from them yet. So that's kind of, I'm sure I'm missing something, but that's kind of a summary of where we're at with the diversity progress.
Thank you so much for spearheading that. And I'm sorry I didn't get to stay on the whole time, but I liked what they're doing up there. It's really cool. The one thing that we'll have to address is that one of us will have to go off because Carl is now a board member. So it'll either have to be me or Sophia or Carl. I don't care because we can only have 2 people on the board because of the Open Meetings Act. So we can discuss that later, who wants to stay on. I definitely want to stay involved if it's not me. Like, I still want to, hear updates, and because it's something I'm passionate about. So, but yeah. Anything else? Any other questions, comments? Okay. So we're going to move on to circulation policy. So the whole point is to update. So every few years we review policies and update them accordingly. So that's what this one is. So Rick has provided the circulation policy with a few requested amendments. So I would take a motion to review, and you can decide what the motion is actually. So, and then we can discuss.
I wanted to clarify a couple of points. Should I wait for a motion, or?
I can make a motion to review the policy.
And accept if agreed, I guess. Is that right?
Second.
All right. So, Rick, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, it's really just the changes on page 2. The changes on page 3 have already been made. It's just when I reopened that document and went to comment again, the old comments were still there. So those changes have already been made. So the changes on page 2 that we are recommending right now, Decatur Public Library items can be renewed one time. So this is not standard. It's not typical. So when we look and we compare our circulation numbers to, say, those of Normal or Urbana or Springfield, we're not on a level playing field because a renewal is counted as a circulation. So our patrons are only allowed to renew one time. Champaign is an outlier, like 10 times. So it's really not it's not a useful comparison unless we're allowing multiple renewals too. We're going to recommend that the board adopt a 2 policy, but I could certainly live with 3. But as we talked it over with division heads, we thought 2 was the best thing. The other thing is that I would like to add a second or a last sentence to that under the first paragraph under loan period on page 2 to say that the library may make items eligible to be renewed automatically. This is in discussion, IHLS. We're looking at the technology. I think they have the technology. Robert's on that committee. And that's the other thing that we're not on a level playing field with. So Champaign is the example again. 10 renewals, all automatic. Patron doesn't have to do anything. Now, to clear things up on what an automatic renewal is, if another patron has requested that item, you don't get an automatic renewal. But otherwise, the patron doesn't have to do anything. It's on the due date, it's automatically renewed for another period. So we're recommending, instead of 1 renewal, 2, and to just open the door for the possibility of automatic renewals. We're not there yet because it's not. There are some member libraries in our consortium that are not crazy about the idea, so it's still under discussion. But we're asking to just make it available if it. I guess what we're asking is that have policy allow it if IHLS chair decides to make that a possibility. Is that clear?
Yeah, and just for curiosity, so if we did go to the automatic, our policy is still twice, so it would just be twice.
Correct. Unless you guys want to go 3 or 4, I mean, it's up to you ultimately, but yeah, if we decide on 2, even with automatic, it's still just 2.
I mean, I like that. I like 2. I don't know, because I mean, you guys are already like extending loan periods because of quarantine, so I'm not sure how if that fits in anywhere either.
It doesn't anymore, but I mean, you know, and we assume that eventually we'll live in a world that doesn't have to quarantine the books, but for the time being, we've actually raised that to 7 days. We started out at 3 days, but the science keeps telling us things we don't want to hear, and we're now at 7 days.
Yeah. So does anybody feel strongly for, you know, 2 or 3? We have to pick one. Yeah, we can't do 2 or 3.
I prefer 2 than 3 personally, just because I feel like at some point people just need to either read the book or give it back.
Yep.
Yeah, I would go along with 2.
Okay. I have a minor thing, I think, like the heading non-resident cards and temporary cards. I'm kind of, I didn't see anywhere in those 2 paragraphs that reference temporary cards. So
there's not a definition somewhere. We should probably, when we, you know.
Well, I mean, there's a different heading that underneath it that says temporary cards, but
yeah, there is a difference. You know, a non-resident card is for folks who are living in an unserved area, but we're the closest library to them, and they can pay for library services. Whereas a temporary card is, let's say somebody comes with a letter saying that they're at Salvation Army. Then we will issue a temporary card. It has some limitations on it, and I think it's good for 6 months. Is that right, Robert? And they can come in.
Yeah, 6 months.
And they can come in. They can come in and renew it if they, you know, if they're, you know, still haven't established a permanent residence. But
okay, then I guess I need some kind of comment in there about what a temporary card is, because underneath it says temporary cards and then how to obtain a temporary card. So it doesn't say anything about a temporary card in the 2 paragraphs under the non-resident cards and temporary cards, if that makes sense.
Why don't we just take off the and temporary cards and just put non-cards and then temporary cards?
Well, and then and the temporary cards just describe what a temporary card is.
Mm-hmm. And it's been, it'll probably be like next year that we will recommend a full review of this policy, and I'm happy to make any changes that you guys want to make. But we were just asking for this one amendment, one very specific amendment. But if you guys want to give it a full once over, that's.
I would say that it should be a once over that goes with the policy committee and then come back to us, as opposed to the full board once over. I think the one amendment was probably good for the full board.
Well, I didn't know that this was just to do, I thought it was the whole thing. So
oh, no, that's fine.
Like, that's why I was saying those things.
No.
So do you want to make the specific amendments, or the specific amendments that Rick is talking about to changing it to 2 times? And then,
I make an amendment that we change it to 2-time automatic renewal.
Okay. Then I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? And then we can do the full review later.
Sure.
Okay. So we'll do roll call. Amy?
Yes.
Okay, there. Susan?
Yes.
Michael?
Yep.
Sophia?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Samantha, yes. Okay, those amendments are passed. So, and then we have the local history use of room policy.
So everything highlighted here is a change from the old policy. Some of it just name change. The department name changed, so we thought the policy should match that. One the new thing is, and Becky and I talked about this a lot, but we're going to stop allowing backpacks, tote bags, large purses, etc., in the local history room. Those things are sometimes unique and cannot be replaced. So, unlike a popular novel, some of these are one-of-a-kind items. So we do that to avoid theft. Have we had any theft? Yes, we have. Not much, but we have had an attempt in the last year at least. And the rest of it's basically, name change and saying that we don't charge for research.
Okay.
I'm sorry to go back, but was there a page 3 that had some changes on fines and fees?
He said that those were on there by mistake.
Yeah.
I didn't. I'm sorry.
They had already been fixed.
Yeah, those changes have already been adopted.
We're good. All right, so I will take a motion for this particular policy.
So I move that we adopt the local history use of room policy.
Any second?
I'll second it.
All right. Discussion. I think all of these are fairly common sense, so as far as changes go. So any other discussion? All right, then I will take roll call. Amy?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Sophia? Sophia? Okay, we'll move on. We'll come back to her. Greg?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Samantha? Yes. Sophia?
Oh, it carries. Even if she votes no, it's gonna carry.
Yeah, I could see her. Sophia, we can't hear you. We're voting.
Just say yes.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Okay, thanks. All right, so we'll move on to new business. Personnel update.
Yeah, you basically heard it. We're really proud of Shakira Powell, who has been a great page for us for 3 or 4 years now, and just got promoted to Library Clerk 1. And so that leaves her position to be backfilled, which was a part-time page. So that's where we are right now.
All right, and we still have 2 board openings.
Oh, there is one more. We did have a resignation. We had a resignation for medical reasons. Part-time library clerk to Lori Cerny. She's been with us a long time, and unfortunately, she's had to leave for medical reasons.
Okay. Well, we'll miss her. So, so board openings, like I said, we have 2 left. I have no update. If anyone has any suggestions on people to fill those spots, please let Rick or myself know. And then we'll move on to serving our public, the per capita grant requirements. So in the minutes, we talked about, Rick and I were going to get together, talk about it. So it does require the board to discuss this because I don't want to make a decision for you guys depending on your time. So we thought of some different solutions. We don't actually know what the requirements are at this point. They're still not published for, Carl, just for your benefit, it's a grant that we get. We have to apply for it. Typically we go through a chapter every month, and it's, talking about access and safety and things like that throughout the library. We kind of go through the checklist of, are we working on this? Are we good with this? I guess, sorry, I'm not hopefully I'm explaining it okay. But so this year we don't have the requirements. So on what we have to do as a board. So, yeah.
To be a little bit, what we've been told, the requirements have not been published. That's correct. And typically they will tell us like, you know, this time of year, or actually sooner, have your board have a discussion on chapter, it's random, you know, chapter 6 of this book, which is at the reference desk. We're ready for all of you guys to pick up. And if you want curbside, let us know. We'll take it, bring it to you curbside. This year, all due to, you know, a pandemic and the state library staff member who has administered this grant for decades retiring, it hasn't been published yet, except we're being told verbally you have to review the whole thing because it's a new edition. So, but the grant's due January 31st. So we've got to have a strategy for getting through this whole thing. Usually we go through, there's 12 chapters. So typically we do a chapter a month, and that's not, obviously that's not going to cut it. Excuse me, this time. So we talked about the possibility of a special meeting.
Yep. We also talked about having each board member take a chapter and reporting back. But I mean, again, that's going to be a full meeting regardless. So like,
I don't think we have a choice. I think we have to do a full meeting, just review it, you know, and get it over with. I mean, I don't mean in a bad way. I just mean it's easier to do that than to make one of our meetings extra long to.
And the grant is the per capita grant, and so that and the state has budgeted for the first increase in the per capita grant in a long, long time. It's gone from $1.25 a head to $1.47.5,
which is worth the money for us.
Well, yeah, and it's not and also for the Susan and Carl's benefit, this is not a competitive grant, but you have to check off all the boxes. You know, everybody who checks off all the boxes gets it, but you have to be able to do that. So, except we haven't seen the boxes yet, and that's the dilemma.
So I would probably. Oh, sorry.
But we're being told it's the board has to review the entire one, and we just got it too, like last month. So.
Well, I mean, even if it's not a requirement, we're reviewing because it's making sure we're up to the standards that, you know, are set by the state. So, so regardless, I think it helps us. So, so would you guys like to set up a meeting in November? I feel like, I don't know, is that too early to get through the whole, I mean.
I feel like we should just do it. I mean, November sounds fine.
Yeah.
And even if we do what you suggested, each board member take a chapter or two, then you can report back, and it shouldn't be that overwhelming if we do it that way.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree on that. And we be responsible for, you know, covering the topic and then presenting.
Yeah, and I mean the benefit too, because some of the questions you won't be able to answer yourself. So you'll have to reach out to library staff. And so if that's the case, because normally Rick will present it to us and he'll kind of go through the list and, you know, to see if we do comply. Because usually there's a checklist. Is there a checklist in this one too?
I believe there's still checklists. I've barely gotten into it myself. I was at the very controversial meetings, committee meetings about it, but this was pretty the first draft was pretty onerous, and small libraries never would have been able to do it, but it looks like they trimmed it down. Yeah, but yeah, there's still a checklist.
Okay. So, I mean, if you can kind of go through, I mean, that would be, I guess, the homework is, you know, if you guys accept the you know, doing the chapters, it'd probably have to be 2 because there's,
yeah.
So one person would, or Rick can do a few, I don't know. So, Is everybody okay with that? I mean, I know Sophia and, okay. So I see affirmative. So
There's 13 chapters.
13. That's
And
unlucky.
there are several appendices that also have checklists up to Appendix A through K. And that's handy, having a 13 chapter one. That'll make yeah.
So if you guys, I don't know if you can stop by the library in the next couple weeks and grab your copies. And then.
And I can surely send. I believe I did, but I can resend an electronic copy too, just so you've got that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I prefer the paper copy. So, and I'll be in there on Tuesday.
Both, and they come with a flash drive. So.
And then is it who will decide what chapters we're going to review? Do you want to assign them to us, or just alphabetically we'll start from the top and 1, 2, 3, 4? I don't know.
Just let us know. It doesn't really matter.
So I will, yeah, because there might be something that you guys are, you know, more attuned to. So, so I'll just look at it and assign them accordingly. But I don't have them right now, so I will send them out maybe like next week when I go grab my book.
I'm sending the electronic version. You should have it momentarily.
I don't have time to do it this week, but I will send it out next week so we can get started on it. And let me know if you have troubles, or, you know, and we'll make it work regardless. So, but anyway, so is there anything else that anybody has? Or, I mean, welcome, Carl.
I was just going to say, welcome, Carl. We're happy to have you.
Your first board meeting.
Thank you, thank you.
You made it to the first meeting.
It's 5:48.
You didn't leave.
I know. Well, we got a motion. We need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Amy, I gotta do it. Amy.
Yes.
Susan.
No. Yes.
All right.
We're
Michael.
replacing for Susan.
Yes. Michael.
Yes, yes, yes.
Sophia.
Yes.
Greg.
Yes.
Carl.
Yes.
And Samantha, yes. All right. The board meeting's adjourned at 5:49.